I used to think that people who got trapped in the Apple ecosystem were pretty dramatic, like, bro, just buy something else. Honestly, I thought I was pretty immune to this. I never really liked iPhones. I was an Android rat for like the last 10 years. I've tried the iPhone like 5 times and I've always given up on it. I never really cared about any of this Apple ecosystem stuff like FaceTime or the iMessage green blue bubble stuff. So I was like, surely this doesn't apply to me. Surely I can get away with just buying one Apple product and not falling into the ecosystem, right? But then something happened. I bought my first MacBook and this was the first domino piece. At the time I had this crappy old Windows laptop that looked pretty good, but the thermals were just crazy. And I heard so many good things about the MacBooks, and when I tried one, this is such a cliche thing to say, but it just worked. And since I didn't play any PC games or anything, it was just perfect. You know, I was like, this is just a laptop. I'm just gonna buy this to do some work. You know, there's nothing malicious going on. I'm just a guy making a sensible purchase, completely in control of his life. And honestly, the MacBook alone is not that dangerous, but it's what comes after it, because somehow I've ended up with not 2, not 3, but 4 Apple products somehow. And you know, just for a second I was like, maybe I should buy an Apple Watch. And I had to stop myself, because what the hell am I doing? It's not like Tim Cook broke into my house like, "Good morning." This is all self-inflicted. It feels like I'm slowly falling into this sinkhole, and I'm not saying the Apple ecosystem is good or bad or anything. This is more of a warning. Let me just say, I don't love Apple. I bought all of these things because they genuinely made logical sense, and this is how they get you. I think a lot of people can agree that the MacBooks are pretty sick for editing. You can literally see them everywhere. And then you start thinking, well then, surely all the other Apple products must be amazing, right? So one day I decided to get myself a reference monitor that I could use to mirror my camera's preview. And for some reason, the very first product that came to my mind is the iPad. It's surprisingly cheap for an Apple product. It seems logical because it seems so reliable. I didn't even need to do any research because it's just an iPad. So I didn't really look at any other tablets because, well, why would I? I already have a MacBook, so I might as well get another Apple product. But then I was looking at the base iPad and I was like, huh, it's 60 Hz and I kind of want to get 120 Hz. So somehow I ended up with the iPad Pro. Honestly, I don't know how this happened. Somehow I convinced myself to get an iPad Pro just to use as a camera preview. What is going on? This isn't Apple's fault, but it just seems so logical and so financially irresponsible. Like, where are my parents? At this point I was like, fine, 2 Apple products, you know, it's just an iPad. It's not like it's gonna take my money away. But then I realized it is not just an iPad, because with a click of just 3 buttons, it becomes a second monitor. And this works so freaking well. I can literally bring an iPad to a cafe and have a second monitor with no wires and no apps. I was like, oh this was so expensive, but at the same time, this is so useful. How am I supposed to switch from the iPad now? Yes, it's just a screen, but somehow it became a really useful tool that I didn't even know that I needed. And speaking of tools, the other week I flew over to Lithuania to see my family, and instead of buying these expensive and silly day plans, I got myself a couple of gigs of data from Saily, which is our sponsor for today. Saily is an eSIM app, which means that you can get mobile data without swapping to a physical SIM card. You just download the app, choose a data plan, install the eSIM, and you're connected. Which is perfect when you're traveling, because the last thing you want to do after a long flight is be hunting for a SIM card like some NPC. In my case, I got myself 5 gigabytes, which I made it work for like 2 weeks, which was perfect. Saily works in over 200 destinations. It has global and regional plans, so if you're traveling to Europe, you don't have to worry because everything is going to be covered. It basically helps you avoid the very expensive roaming fees, has 24/7 chat support, and it gives you a full refund in case your phone is not compatible. So download the Saily app and use the code SNOWBALL to get 15% off from the data plans, or you can just go to saily.com/snowball. And yeah, let's get back to the video. But at this point I wasn't panicking just yet because I was still using my Samsung phone, which was like the only thing that was keeping me sane at this point. I thought I was safe. I thought there is no way I could possibly switch from an Android to an iPhone, right? Right? I'm so sorry. This was so unexpected and this might be controversial, so please let me explain. I made a video not too long ago explaining how I'm so close to switching to an iPhone. I showed the main benefit being the camera, because although it's not that good on paper, in fact the Chinese phones completely walk all over it, the reliability of the iPhone's camera, especially in video mode, was almost enough for me to switch, especially because I'm a content creator, so I will take every bit of convenience that I can. I love being able to record horizontal selfie video. I love recording low light videos, and I know from experience that Android phones tend to fall apart a little bit quicker. But I also explained how much I dislike the customization. And the one thing I didn't really mention is the YouTube Premium, because you know, if you don't want to pay for it, you can download something. Well, I kind of found that app on the iPhone, so I kind of like it more now. And just to be clear, I don't really like this phone. Despite the fact that it's good, it is also so boring and uninspiring, and I just feel like an NPC when I use this phone. And I hate to be cliche, but it is kind of just good, and at the same time it's really annoying. At first the keyboard sucked, and now I feel like the keyboard sucks even more because I'm having to delete the autocorrections all the time. And I feel like people's biggest complaints about the iPhone is the back button, and I actually found out that some apps let you swipe right and it basically works like a back button, and just for a second I was like, wow, like we got a back button now? But this doesn't work on every app, and honestly, this system just kinda sucks. I feel like I kinda got used to it at this point, but it feels like cope. Like, why am I pretending to like, why am I forcing myself to use this? And honestly, after like 2 months, I just miss Android now. So I think the one phone that could actually bring me back is the Oppo Find X9 Ultra. Not only it's one of the best camera phones, but it's also one of the best Android phones in general. That happens to be really expensive. There's a bunch of small and very specific things that I like about the iPhone, like the software and the optimization, but at this point, this just became a tool rather than a phone that I actually want to use. It does sound a little contradicting because I did say that I want a reliable phone, but I don't really want to settle for this because I know that there's so many other cool phones out there. And because I don't want to carry 2 phones, I kind of feel like I'm forced to use this, partially for YouTube reasons, but that kind of scares me because I want to have fun. Now again, I'm not like a die-hard fan on all the ecosystem stuff, like I don't care about the iMessage, I don't care about AirDrop. I'm not that far gone, is what I thought, until I got one of these, the AirPods Pros. When I picked them up, I was actually worried. This wasn't even planned, but a couple of weeks ago, I lost my old earbuds, and they were the OnePlus Buds Pro 2s or whatever. And honestly, they were pretty good. Like, the only problem that I had was the latency issues, so editing on the Mac with the Buds was basically a big no. And again, logically, I was like, well, I heard pretty good things about these, so I might as well, right? Well, I'm on the iPhone now, so I guess that's the best choice. I was gonna go for the AirPod Pro 2s, but my most reliable source, my therapist and my best friend, ChatGPT, gaslit me into buying the Pro 3s. Not only did I fall for the ecosystem, but I was also mugged by an AI. And I knew they would be good. I knew they would connect like instantly as soon as I opened the case, but I didn't know how good they would be when using the MacBook as well. So I was listening to music on my iPhone and I literally pressed the spacebar on my MacBook and YouTube started playing in my ear. I didn't even touch any Bluetooth settings, I didn't do anything, and they just connected. And then I just sat there thinking, oh my god, I am actually cooked. This is the stuff that I used to make fun of, like, oh, this Apple stuff just works, but it does just work. And this is what's so scary, because if the AirPods work so well with the iPhone and the MacBook, then how the hell am I supposed to switch back? Using these AirPods on my Android phone means that I don't get this seamless switching. In-ear detection doesn't work, so sound keeps playing if I take them out. And there's probably a bunch of other things that don't work that I could fix on Android with a third-party app, but that's such an inconvenience. So now if I decided to go for an Android phone, these wouldn't feel so magical anymore, which is why I got them in the first place. Now these are part of the phone, part of the desk, and part of the trap. The noise cancellation on these are so good that sometimes I turn it on just to sit there in silence, and sometimes it's so silent that it actually feels isolating and lonely. It's the fact that I can change the noise cancellation settings on my Mac, the fact that the case is magnetic and it makes a little ding sound. The fact that even if I randomly decide to bring my iPad to the kitchen and just start watching YouTube, I don't even have to think about the Bluetooth settings. It's these little things that make you think, oh, that was nice. I'm not trapped because I physically cannot leave. I feel trapped because once you start this momentum, it snowballs and you keep buying all these products and nothing else makes sense anymore. And if you use Android products like an Android phone, suddenly all of these accessories don't really work as well unless you just replace the entire ecosystem. And you know, I was enjoying the ecosystem and suddenly I was like, maybe I should get an Apple Watch. What do you mean an Apple Watch? Why the hell would I need that? Why would I need another thing that keeps buzzing every 5 minutes? What is wrong with me? It's like there's a voice inside my head now that's like, keep buying, we know you like our products, you can make your life even better if you keep giving us money. It's like my brain has shrunk and I see nothing else on the radar. I don't even feel like doing any research anymore. It's like Apple is doing all the thinking for me, and I don't like that. I like to think and research. Do you realize how cooked I would be if I got an Apple Watch? That thing barely works with Android phones. I would literally be stuck with an iPhone forever. Which is why I had to stop myself, because it's not too late. I'm not completely cooked. Apart from this heat, holy is it hot here. I'm definitely not replacing the MacBook because it's just a tool at this point, but with the iPhone, I am not attached to it. I want to explore other options. I really want to try that Oppo Find X9 Ultra. Maybe I want to try another OnePlus phone without having my accessories being crippled. And honestly, I think I can give up some of these quality of life features in exchange for some freedom. If I was to replace my phone, these would work, but I'd probably want to replace them as well. I think I'm starting to understand this whole ecosystem trap now, because at first it doesn't feel like a trap. It feels convenient, it feels logical, and it gives you so much peace of mind. But then it builds momentum, and then one day you look down and you have like 1600 Apple products and you don't even know how you got there. And now it's incredibly difficult to climb out. And then you just stop considering all the other options because Apple has a very clear straight path. You just buy their products, nothing else is on the radar, and that scares me. I like research, and Apple makes me not want to do that because it's so simple just to get Apple products. But anyway, right now I keep telling myself, if I just replace this phone, I'll be fine. Is what a prisoner would say. Anyway, I'm just so glad I didn't buy that watch, and if you found this video helpful, help me reach 100 billion subscribers, and I'll see you in the next video.